Hi, everyone. Welcome to our session today. So, today's session is on a very interesting topic, which is basically the Kundalini energy, the fiery path to Krishna consciousness. So, let's start with an invocation. Let's close our eyes, connect the tongue to the palate. Let's relax our shoulders, relax your spine, sit in a comfortable position. Let us invoke. To the Supreme God, Divine Father, Divine Mother, we thank you for your priceless blessings, for divine light, divine love, divine guidance, divine love, mercy, inner healing, physical healing. Thank you for the inner strength to practice regularly. Thank you for your divine help and protection, for illumination, abundance, and prosperity. We thank you. Let's also do the soul affirmation. Let us be aware that through these processes, we are trying to reach Krishna consciousness, which is the consciousness of the soul. Okay, so let's start with the body. I am not the body. I am not the emotions. I am not my thoughts. I am the soul. I am a spiritual being of divine intelligence, divine love, and divine power. I am one with my higher soul. I am one with the divine spark within me. I am a child of God. I am connected with God. I am one with God, and I am one with all. Okay, so let's start with Super Brain Yoga. So the purpose of Super Brain Yoga is to help us balance our upper chakras and our lower chakras. And it also helps us to absorb more information. It is actually also one of the ways in which the Kundalini energy or the sex energy combined is not the Kundalini, but more the sex energy is moved up to the upper chakras. So I'm just mentioning this today since the topic is the Kundalini. Okay, so we're going to cross our arms in front of our chest, connect the tongue to the palate. Please stand with your arms shoulder width apart. And as we inhale, we're going to do a semi squat. And as we exhale, we're going to come up. Okay, so let's start with that and keep your arms like this. Make sure the right hand is on top. Okay, let's start. Inhale, go down. One. Inhale, go down. Two. Inhale, go down. Three. Inhale, go down. Four. Inhale, go down. Five. Inhale, go down. Six. And the last one. Stabilize the energy. Okay, so let's get started. So, as we said, today's topic is Krishna and the um, Kundalini energy at the base of the spine. So, here we go. So, one of the stories that I would like to share first is, by the way, this is session 15 and moving on. So, the story I wanted to share first today is Lord Krishna and Kalia the snake. I don't know how many of us have heard this story as children. And one of the feedbacks that we've received is that perhaps I'm assuming that most people know some of these stories. So I'm going to try and give a short brief of these stories before I talk about them, rather than just assuming that everybody knows the stories. Okay, so sorry about that. Apologies. So Lord Krishna and Kalia. So there's a story that there was this black serpent called Kalia in the Yamuna, where Krishna apparently, lived. And Kalia would kind of, make the water of the Yamuna poisonous. So when the cows, as you remember, that Lord Krishna was also a cowherd, a Gwala. So when he would go to, when the cows would drink the water of the Yamuna, then they would fall sick and they would die. Okay. So obviously the problem came to Lord Krishna and he had to do something about it. So what did he do? He apparently plunged into the Yamuna and he fought the Nag Kalia. And after he had overcome the Nag Kalia, this is what apparently, of course, I wasn't there, but this is one of the images in one of the temples. I'm not sure from where. So thank you to whoever has made this sculpture. So it basically shows Krishna dancing on top of the snake, right? Now, so what is the relevance of this story? Okay, let's get into it. So, Kalia possibly could represent the serpent, which is the Kundalini energy, which is considered to be located at the base of the spine or near the base of the spine. Let's put it that way. And the Yamuna, as far as I understand from Master Chokswi's teachings, from the book Hinduism Revealed, is that The Yamuna, or the water element, represents the sex chakra. So what we're essentially saying is that in the sex chakra or near the sex chakra, which is represented by the Yamuna, so in the sex chakra or near the sex chakra, which is represented by the Yamuna, is the black snake Kalia, which represents Kundalini energy. And if the Kundalini energy or the black snake is not of good intentions, then it is like poison. It can poison us. So again, those of us who have done Arhatic Yoga, we may have a little bit more insight into that, into this. And for those of us who haven't, I would encourage you to take it. There are some things that we can share on these platforms, and there are some things that we cannot share on these platforms. So I apologize, but the idea is to make this session useful for newcomers as well as for people who have done Arhatic Yoga. So anyway, so the water element or the sex energy, which is in the at the bottom of the spine, and the Kundalini energy, which is represented by Kalia, is if it is dirty, then it begins to poison everything else, right? So it is the task of Lord Krishna to dive deep into the depth of the Yamuna, to grab hold of Kalia the snake, to overcome Kalia the snake. And then when Kalia comes back up, okay, Krishna consciousness is dancing on top of the crown of Kalia. So I'd like you to again look at this picture in that particular context before we go on. Okay. So Kalia the snake has been overcome by Lord Krishna, has risen out of the water, and guess who's dancing on top? Krishna. Okay. So what is the relevance of this story in terms of what we're going to talk about today? So the Kundalini energy, according to Master Choka Sui, the term Kundalini refers to the sacred fire located near the base of the spine. This is something that he has mentioned in the book Achieving Oneness with the Higher Soul. The Kundalini goes up the spine. So when the Kundalini goes up the spine, do you think that if such a powerful energy is going up the spine, perhaps the spine needs to be clean? Yeah. So one of the beauties of, I feel, with the Pranic Healing School and Master Chopak Sui School is that he really helps us step by step to should I say, to move towards spirituality, to move towards Krishna consciousness. So one thing I wanted to mention here is that there are many, many ways of awakening the Kundalini. So if you read, if you just look up on the internet or on Amazon, you'll find a lot of books on the Kundalini. But the point is that to waken up the Kundalini in an unsafe manner can lead to other implications, which again, if you've read some of the books, you'll understand. If you haven't, don't worry about it. In Aratic Yoga, we have a very safe way of doing it. And of course, other schools also have safe ways of doing it, but we also have that. So I just want to mention that. So what I was coming to was this: should the spine be clean and healthy? Right? If the Kundalini energy, which is a very powerful, so visualize, Kalia the snake. Okay, Kalia the snake is a huge, big, powerful snake. So that's the kind of energy we are talking about. And it's also represented by fire. So if you just visualize, this bunch of fire at the base of the spine or near the base of the spine, and the fire begins to rise, it needs to go up a clear path, right? So when we do pranic healing for, let's say, spinal ailments or any other ailment related to the spine, what we are basically doing is that we are clearing up that channel. Okay. So moving on. Now, for those of us who have been with us for a while, you may have also seen this series, which is called The Angels, the Chakras, and the Pandavas. And in that particular series, we talk about Draupadi and her relationship with the Pandavas and the Krishnas and Krishna. So I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about it, but just wanted to put this into quick context. So this is what the YouTube cover looks like in the title. So Draupadi is often represented as Kula Kundalini. Now, Draupadi is also, if you remember from the stories, is known to have been born out of a sacrificial fire. So she was born of fire along with her brother Drishtadu. I think we covered this in episode 3 or episode 4. Anyway, so when the Kundalini begins to rise up the spine and she marries each of the chakras, okay, so as she marries each of the chakras, there is a son that is created, a child that is created. And when she gets to the top, she meets Krishna consciousness. Okay. And so therefore, as you may have noticed in a lot of stories, Draupadi is referred to as Krishna's Sakhi or Krishna's friend. So that to me also defines in some ways, or not defines, but explains in some ways the relationship between Kundalini energy at the base of the spine, near the base of the spine, and the Krishna consciousness. So, these stories sometimes are so beautiful and so accurate. It's just amazing how, the great masters and the great teachers can put such a complexity into like a story and make it so interesting for us. But anyway, okay, so moving on. So today we are going to talk about the spine. Why are we talking about the spine? Because the Kundalini energy is located somewhere near the base of the spine. Now we are all aware that we have a physical spine, and we already talked about the fact that the physical spine needs to be clean and clear and safe in order to allow the Kundalini energy to go up, right? So in the astral system, we have something called the Shushumna. So again, now I'm referring to the book God Talks with Arjuna by Paramhans Yogananda ji. Okay, the Shushumna is a channel of energy. Now it has two auxiliary meridians or nadis, okay, which are called the Ida and the Pingala. So again, if you see the caduceus that the doctors use as a symbol, the medical fraternity uses it as a symbol, or if you haven't, you can just look up caduceus later. So these auxiliary nadis are often represented as serpents as well. So basically, you have the astral spine, and then you have this snake-like thing going up all the way, and there are 72,000 nadis. Okay, now, within the Shushumna, there is something called the Vajra. So there are many layers to the, to this whole system. So the Vajra, so to say, is the second layer, and then there is the Chitra. So there is the Shushumna. Inside it is the Vajra. Inside it is the Chitra. So although these are considered inside it, they're not exactly inside. I'll just explain in a little bit. Okay. So the Shushumna is believed to go from the basic chakra to the crown chakra. Those of us who again have done pranic healing, we know where the chakras are. Those of us who've not, you can look it up. And and within the Shushumna is the Vajra, which goes up from the sex chakra upward. And these two chakras together provide activities of motion for the astral body. Okay, so the power to do things, the power to act, the power to move, all of that, if you notice, comes from these two chakras right at the bottom of the spine. And as you can see, they have a connection going up. Up where? Let's talk about that. Now, within the Vajra is something called the Chitra. Now, the Chitra Nadi controls the spiritual activities. Now, so again, the reason we are talking about all of this is that we need to understand that within the spine, the physical spine, there are other important channels of energy, and each of these channels of energy has a certain function. Okay, now the causal body is made up of ideas and of consciousness. The spiritual spine of the causal body is called the Brahmanadi. So just to back up a little bit, as we did the soul affirmation also, we said, I am not the body, right? So let's say that was the physical spine. Then we said, I am not the emotion. That was perhaps, you know, Chitra or Vajra, I'm not sure. And then we said, I am not the thoughts. So the thoughts, so the physical body is contained within the etheric body, which is the energy body, which is contained within the astral body, which is contained within the mental body. And then there is the causal body. Now, we need to be aware that these are not layers. These are kind of interpenetrating. So it's like if you have a glass of water and you have a sponge. So the sponge is inside, right? So the water is in the sponge and also outside the sponge. So it's kind of an envelope, so to put it. So it's interpenetrating. Okay. And this has no covering of light like the astral spine. Now, the reason this makes sense is because the light is also, in some senses, is matter, because light is also subtle matter. Now, when we talk about the causal body, we're talking about extremely subtle matter. Okay, so that's why it says it has no covering like the astral spine. It is a strong current of consciousness. This is the Krishna consciousness. This is the energy that is trying to come in. So if you go back to the beginning of this episode when I talked about how the young Lord Krishna jumps into the Yamuna, um, merges or mixes or overcomes the Kalia, the snake, and then he pulls Kalia snake up while dancing on its head. Okay, so interesting, no? Okay. So this is thought. So now again, now going back to the Chitranadi. Now, the Chitra Nadi is considered to be inside, the Brahma Nadi is considered to be inside the Chitra Nadi, which is, in fact, as it says here, is a misnomer in some sense, as I just explained, that it is like having layers which are interpenetrating with each other, which mix with each other. Now, again, to visualize this, and I apologize if my examples are not fully accurate, but the idea is to convey a visual image. So let's say if you have, what we call a jali or a sieve with big holes, and then we have a sieve with smaller holes and smaller holes and smaller holes and smaller holes, right? So then the whole thing becomes interpenetrating. Okay, so the matter can move in between. Okay, just to give you a sense of what we're trying to discuss. Okay, so going back. So the Brahmanadi, this is again in reference to the shlokas 1.4 to 1.6 in the Bhagavad Gita by Paramahansa Yogananda ji. He says that the Brahmanadi is described as being inside the Chitra, which is inside the Vajra, which is inside the Shushumna, which is inside the physical spine. And all of this is in inverted commas, okay? And so, what I want to mention here also is that for those of us who are familiar with the mantra of Guru Padma Sambhava, Om Ahum Vajra Guru Padma Siddhi Hum. So that is another mantra which we also use sometimes. And for those of us who have studied a little bit about this, it refers to thoughts and emotions, right? It is supposed to help us overcome or overpower any negative thoughts and emotions. So it's one of the powering or empowering mantras. So just the fact that it mentions here Vajra is what I thought was interesting to discuss. Okay. Okay. Now, within the causal body and the Brahmanadi, there are the seven spiritual centers of consciousness. Now, these could also be referred to the chakras. What is fascinating here is this: the physical and astral and causal bodies are knitted together at the centers, uniting them together to cognize, think, feel, and will. So, let me just try and describe this to the best of my abilities, which is that if we have these kind of bubbles, if I may say so, one interpenetrating each other, and they're not just loosely, like jumping around. They are also knitted together at the chakras. Okay, so which means if this is my Ajna chakra, then my Ajna chakra at the physical, well, the probably the physical organ, the glands, etc., are probably knitted together with my etheric body, with my astral body, with my mental body. So all the bodies are within each other, and then they are knitted together, which means that the chakras are actually connected through the bodies. It's a beautiful complex system. It's really beautiful. If you have more interest in this, you can read the book called The Etheric Double by Arthur Powell. It's very interesting how the whole body is, I don't know, this beautiful structure. Okay. So again, why are we talking about this? We are talking about this because we want to know how to move the Kundalini energy safely through the spine up to Krishna consciousness, right? So we talked about the story of Draupadi, how Draupadi marries each of the Pandavas and moves up to Krishna consciousness. We talked about the story of Kalia, the snake, and Lord Krishna, how Lord Krishna dives down into the Yamuna, overpowers Kalia, and comes back up and dances on the head of Kalia the snake. Okay. So in this context, what I thought we would do is we would, of course, go back to the first shloka of the Bhagavad Gita, which is for us to think about. So, the topic here is the spine. And the spine is what, holds the whole body erect, right? So, what I would like us to do is when we do inner reflection today, let us think about what is it about the spine that we can be aware of. Do we have pains and aches anywhere in the spine? What do those pains and aches refer to? And if we have a very strong spine, then perhaps we can move to the next level of, awakening our Kundalini safely with Aratik Yoga. Okay, so I'm just going to read the shlok. It's Dhritarashtra Uvacha, Dharmashetre, Kurukshetre, Samaveta, Yuyutsavaha, Mamakam Pandavascheva, Kim Kurvata, O Sanjaya. So the blind mind, Dhritarashtra, so that's our own blind mind, is asking Sanjay, which is our discriminative intelligence, what did my chakras, and my 100 vices, what did they do today? Okay, so let's do that. Let's close our eyes, or you can keep them open, no worries. You can look at the pictures if it helps you. And let's think of something that let's think of our day. Let's go through our day. Let's think of all the good things that we did, all the kalias that we overcome, all the vices that we tried to overcome today, and all the good things that we did today. Because it's really important for us to think of the good things that we did. Okay, that helps us build our self esteem, and that's really, really important. And in that process, let's be aware. So, what we're trying to do is we're just trying to build awareness of what is it, what did they do? Who's they? The Pandavas and the Kauravas. Who are the Pandavas? Our chakras. Who are the Kauravas? Our vices. Why are we doing all of this? To raise the Kundalini energy up from the base of the spine, up to the head to Krishna consciousness. Okay. So I'm going to be silent for a few seconds while you do that. Take a few seconds, think of your day from the time you woke up, the time whatever you did, or if it's evening for you, what you did a few hours ago, depending on which time zone. Okay, and then gently open your eyes. Okay, so just wanted to share with you today. This is a diagram of all the workshops that we have. And this is where Arhatik Yoga is, where my mouse is. So Arhatik Yoga is where we learn specifically the techniques of the Kundalini. But like I said, starting from basic pranic healing, we talk about, healing the spine. So again, we have a basic pranic healing workshop coming up next week. It's going to be a half day format. In the morning so that people can do the workshop and then go to work and do whatever they have to do. Okay, so if you are interested, you can sign up. This is in Kolkata, of course. And that's it. With that, we will start our meditation. Those of us watching this on YouTube later, you can sign up using the WhatsApp number below. Let's be aware of our crown. Let's be aware of our heart. Let's raise our hands in blessing position. Let's visualize our goals, our targets. So today, let's focus on our spiritual target because today's topic is the Kundalini energy and meeting the Krishna consciousness within us. So let's be aware of our spiritual target. Let's bless our spiritual target. Let's take a few seconds and think of what our spiritual target is and how is it going to help the earth? How is it going to help us? Okay, and then with that end result in mind as to what is that going to help us to do, to achieve, to serve, to have a happier life, a prosperous life, whatever you're looking for, because everyone's looking for something different. Okay, but the spiritual goal should kind of help us make things better. Okay, so we are not talking about detachment in this series. We're talking about the Bhagavad Gita. We are talking about Lord Krishna talking to Arjun about how he must complete his duty. Okay, so as we discuss shloka by shloka, I think hopefully this will bring more clarity. But for now, let's bless our spiritual goal. Let's bless the spiritual goals of everyone on the planet Earth and especially on our group. Inhale and exhale, project the energy, be aware of the crown, the heart, and the hands. Okay, now in order to help us meet our spiritual goals, let's also bless our homes with the right receptivity. If we have any obstacles that need to be transmuted or changed in order for us to reach our spiritual goals, let's bless all those issues. May they all be resolved. Similarly, for our work, let's bless everything at work that can help us with our spiritual goals. Now, one more thing that I'd like to add here is that if there are any obstacles in our life, then we need to be aware that they are not obstacles in our spiritual path, they are the path. Okay. So if we are having any kind of relationship issues or prosperity issues, those are all part of our path. Okay. And again, when we join the school of pranic healing and Arhatik yoga, I think it'll be clearer step by step because otherwise it may sound like a very general statement. But just be aware of that. that there is a path, and everyone who is with us is here to teach us a lesson, whether we like it or not. And let's bless ourselves with divine light to understand the lesson, with divine love and divine power to achieve our goals. So the love is the commitment, and the power is the ability to reach the goals. Okay. You may feel that since today we are blessing our spiritual goals, there is a tremendous amount of energy pouring in. Just enjoy the bliss for a few seconds. Okay, those of us who have done with the blessing, let's massage our face, our crown, scalp, neck, shoulders, the other shoulder and arms, chest, the liver, the spleen, the kidneys at the back. Don't forget the hips, the side of the hips, the thighs, the knees, the shin bone, and the calves. Okay. So thank you everyone for joining. I hope you understand the beauty of group meditation, because what happens is that when we all meditate together, the energy is more. So just to put it very simply, if you have one match lighting up at one time, there will be a certain amount of light. But if you have, let's say, 7 matches together and you light them all together, the fire or the energy produced will actually be more than all of them being lighted individually, right? So that's kind of an example to help us understand why group meditation is so powerful. So thank you for joining us. Your contribution, your being here makes it better for all of us. So thank you so much. And for those of us watching this later, you can join us for our live sessions by texting the number given below in the WhatsApp group. Okay. And again, those of us who are in Kolkata, who have friends and family in Kolkata, we're having a workshop next week, half-day format. Please let us know. Thank you and bye-bye. See you soon.